Thank you so much, Tommaso, for having us here for this final panel. I was on my way out to be the first at the cocktail reception when I was interrupted to be asked whether I moderate this panel here. It shows the flexibility and innovative nature of Europe, that we are able to self-organize ourselves so quickly. And I hope this sets the tone for our final and highlight panel, hopefully, that we have here today. I'd very briefly like to ask my esteemed panelists to introduce themselves. We have a trialogue here. We have the Parliament, we have the Belgian government and future Council of the European Union. So if I may, please start with Karen to very briefly introduce yourself and also perhaps give us a little indication of why you are here and what fascinates you with the topic.
Thank you very much, Joachim. I'm Karen Melchior. I'm elected from Denmark, sitting in the legal committee and also in the committee for internal market. I think technology is underlining all of our societies, and therefore it's important that we get tech regulation right. And that's why I've chosen the two committees that I'm in, where I've had the pleasure of working on both the DSA, a little bit on the DMA, the Data Act, AI Act. And I think we really need to get how we regulate technology right, and also to make sure that we don't ask technology to solve societal problems that can only be solved by society. So that's why I'm really looking forward to this sort of forward-looking and visionary talk.
That's a fantastic kickoff. And I would like to continue with Mathieu. Mathieu, you have a double function. You already represent the Belgian government. And of course, we are looking forward to the upcoming presidency. And having had a little chat with you before this discussion, I note that I already have, I would say, 10 very good ideas from your side. So we can expect a sparkling presidency. Would you like to very briefly introduce also yourself and tell us what fascinates you as regards blockchain and the societal dimension of it?
But first of all, I will also, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm in charge of digitization in Belgium. And obviously, innovation fascinates me in a lot of aspects. My obsession is to reconciliate innovation and trust. I think that since the birth of humanity, innovations brings opportunities, but also some kinds of risks. And I think that the purpose and the objective of governments, politicians, parliament, trilogue, is to build trust, to unleash the benefits of innovation, to unleash the power of innovation, to offer benefits to all the citizens. And to my point of view, that balance between innovation and trust is really important. And mostly the strategy that I try to develop in Belgium is based on a mindset that I call smart nation. And being a smart nation, to my point of view, summarize what we need to do with innovation. It's based on 3 pillars. Ambition. Ambition is understanding that innovation, the playground of innovation is the world, the entire world, and not only Belgium, not only Europe. So ambition. Convergence means working together. That's something really important, and even more in Belgium. And inclusion. Inclusion is probably the most important thing that we need to build, because we don't want to build a world for a part of humanity. Digitization technology must be for everybody. And we live in an age where some kind of people, probably like you live in a world that will come in 20 years. But in the meantime, a lot of people live in a world from 20 years or so from now. So voilà, that's a little bit my motivation. And so we develop some kinds of beautiful agenda for 24.
Looking very much forward to that. And I'm very grateful for one remark you made, because I'm an economic historian, and you mentioned basically also the longer-term perspective of where we're coming from. So our main topic of the discussion here is, where are we heading to? You mentioned the next policy cycle. Now, of course, in order to know where you're going to, you have to know where you are and how you got there. And I think it's a very good moment in time. We are a little bit in an interregnum. We have the end now of a policy cycle with the current parliament and the commission. We then next year get a new parliament, we get a new commission, we have the Belgian presidency, we have minor details in the world like the US elections and other things. So it will be a fascinating year, 2024. If I look at blockchain, I think we've come a long way. We declared in Europe, all of us, 2015, 2016, that blockchain is one of our innovation priorities for all policy areas. And the reason is the value for society, for the benefits that it can deliver. You have already both alluded to that. In this current cycle, we have worked a lot specifically on the financial dimension. We have MiCA, we have the digital finance package in general. We have the discussion on the digital euro. We also in the real economy have the anti-counterfeiting, blockchain infrastructure, and many use cases. Europe is not only talking, Europe is building. So probably many people would say that we have somehow taken a lead in the discussion because we embed blockchain already now into the societal dimension for many use cases. What is your wrap up of these last years? Where do we stand when we now look into the future? Is it a solid basis? Is it a slippery slope? Do we have the ingredients to cook something nice? So are you in a positive frame when it comes to shaping the future? Or are you in a concerned mode because we are still lacking bits and pieces somewhere that we need to put together?
I think, this mandate has been one of the busiest ever for tech policy, and it has been a significant change for the European Union. We've had new laws on data storage and use and competition in the digital sphere, online platforms, digital identity, and artificial intelligence, just a few of them. And we've seen lawmakers and commissioners gain a better understanding of the impact on digital and everything. And it's no longer on the fringes of policy, but really at the center and heart of what the Commission is doing and also our work in the Parliament. When I was elected, it was a little bit curious that I was campaigning as a candidate on digital policy and digital subjects. But these last 5 years, everybody has been wanting to do digital policy in the European Parliament. Some benefits have been that policymakers have an improved understanding of what they're regulating, and that there is a sense that we're moving forward with a strategy that aims to reconcile technology and citizens' rights. But I still see that we as policymakers and legislators are committing some cardinal sins when legislating. We use technical neutrality as an excuse not to engage with actually the challenges that the laws that we create pose. And also that we make laws without a clear understanding of the technologies that they'll impact. And then also sometimes we try and take a horizontal approach that tries to apply the same rules to drastically different sectors or different sizes of companies. It's had some improvements from the copyright directive to the DSA, where we have adjusted to the size of platforms in the DSA, which we didn't really do in the copyright directive. But we're still also being deliberately unclear about what actions the industry needs to take and just leave it to them to sort it out without actually understanding what we're asking for them. And worst of all, we're trying to make technically impossible or contradictory laws. We've seen it a couple of times in recent years with the copyright directive that says prevent the upload of copyrighted content, but don't use automated upload filters, but at the same time do it really fast. So that's contradictory and doesn't work. And an approach to the blockchain that often misunderstands its core characteristics and therefore doesn't allow it to be used and allows society to reap the benefits of it. And then also most recently, we have a child sexual abuse materials regulation that says you shouldn't break end-to-end encryption, but you should scan everybody's conversations. So we as politicians and lawmakers, we really need to get better at looking at the way that we regulate technology so that we don't ask the impossible and we take responsibility as politicians and lawmakers for what we ask.
I'm very grateful for this roundup. I'm also very grateful that you mentioned other things than blockchain, for example, the child sexual abuse regulation. I can obviously not comment on that from my perspective, but very positively take on what you said about that. So that really shows a little bit the frictions. I could add MiCA and transfer of funds, which is also, of course, a certain conflict. So I think we've built a lot of trees, but I'm asking, where's the wood, where's the forest? And maybe from the national perspective, we have a big forest here in front of Brussels. Can you show us what the forest perhaps is in this discussion? So would you agree to what has been said, or would you, from your perspective, add a couple of elements that we have missed so far?
I would say that for Belgium, it will be a great time in the coming months because we will have the presidency.
Yeah.
So we will have the opportunity, I would say, to, a little bit clean the room. What I would say is to say, okay, first of all, we will have to close some important file. Maybe AI Act, if Spain doesn't finish the job, we will have a few other actions to have, but more on the closing the files. Secondly, we will have to write the conclusion of this commission. That will be also an important time for us. Making a little bit the summary of what was decided, and we have lived so many regulations, so many complicated regulation, and our position will be to suggest in the coming years more implementation and less regulation. There has been DSA, DMA, Data Act, and so on. And so a lot of companies, a lot of governments are really under the pressure of all those regulations. And around those regulations, a lot of regulators, authorities. And so that's I think it's a bit complicated, and we will ask, and we will ask to other countries to break to break under the regulation side, to work more on the implementation, and probably also more on the governance. So closing the files, then closing remarks of the Commission, and then the important topics of Belgium for the presidency. And there I see four important topics that we want to bring at the forefront of the agenda. First of all is the governance. The governance. And I will take the example of the AI Act. The beginning of the discussions about the AI Act were 2 years ago. For most of the parliamentary in the European Parliament, we didn't know about ChatGPT, for example. It was 2 years ago. ChatGPT was probably 8 months ago, so something like that. And with a little bit of luck, the implementation of the AI Act will be in 2 years. So the disruption between the way technology evolve and the way we make regulation, that doesn't match. That's really a problem, and that's why we have already begun the task to convince everybody to build some kinds of an agency, a governance agency of the algorithm of the AI, which doesn't take decisions, but which helps organization, governments, companies to deploy the technology and to build trust around technology. So first of all, governance with the build of a European agency of the algorithm, and I think that's it. We are on the good way. That's the first thing.
But I mean that was one of the things that we discussed when we were both looking at the DSA and also the AI Act, whether we needed such an agency. And I think what we came to an agreement in the Parliament, at least, was that we should put these powers within the Commission, and then also have a closer correlation with the member states' authorities. But I mean, is the Council sort of looking at backtracking or changing?
There are two things. There are the regulators, and DSA, DMA, and so on. We must put at the level of the countries regulators, and that puts some problems in the countries, because you have a regulator for DSA, a regulator for DMA, a regulator for AI Act, and so our position is to bring, as we speak about regulators, to bring as much competencies, as much responsibilities at a European level, and obviously, it's the same. I have the same opinion with the DPA, the data protection authorities. We have so much problems in Europe because there are so much data protection authorities, and there is EDPB, but EDPB coordinates, don't decide. We all know the role that the Irish DPA is taking. So I think that more and more we have to bring back more responsibilities at European level. So what I'm speaking about is, if I speak about an agency of the algorithm, it's not yet a regulator, but I think that we will have to discuss about that. It's more a knowledge agency which can accompany the decision. When you have a regulation which needs a regulator, that's another job. Okay, and I have a lot of discussions with other Minister of Digitization saying, okay, that's a nonsense to build in every country a regulator for DSA, a regulator for DMA, a regulator for AI. That's real problem. So let's bring back as much as possible responsibilities at European level. So
I think if I may just go in between, that's a very fascinating discussion where I'm very happy to look forward to have half a year of precisely that discussion. It's a trialogue live that we are experiencing here, basically, which is a very good example of the high-level dialogue we're having. You mentioned 4 priorities for the presidency. So this one is already extremely fascinating. What are the other 3? So,
so first is algorithm. The second one is virtual identity. So I think that eIDAS is really a step forward, which is really impressive and really important to build trust. I say too that innovation trust is really important. So eIDAS, to my point of view, is really important because it will allow us to bring back responsibility of the user in the digital world. And the proposition that we have made, and I think that I'm convinced because that's one of our idea, is to give the possibility to inform the people of whom I am speaking to, whom I am in contact with. That's something really important because, I was really disturbed when Elon Musk decided to make the blue V paid, okay? To be recognized as who you are, you have to pay it. That's not normal. So the proposition we have already made, and a lot of countries agree with us, is to say, okay, if you want to have the blue V to guarantee you are who you are, it has to be a regulation. And it has to be a tool, an optional tool, because I think that anonymity on the internet is really important. But to put on the table a tool that you use or not, as an intermediary or as a user, that's something really important. And I'm convinced that it can have a huge impact on the way we identify the evolution of humanity. Because today we know fake news. We know online scam. We know the false profile. We know that it has a huge impact on the violence of the democracy. And so to be able to identify, okay, this guy, he speaks as himself, and I know that it's him, that's something that can change the whole thing about democracy on the internet, trust on the internet. And so eIDAS and the way we use it to bring back responsibility in the digital world, that's something really important. Virtual identity, the skills will be really, really important. We know that in every country we have a lack of digital skills, and we are in a hurry. We don't have time to build diplomas. We don't have time to build the power of innovation. And so our proposition is more to propose auto-certification, micro-credential, to go as fast as possible to validate the skill of a people without diploma. I know the world is changing. And then the fourth thing, but we will speak more about it, is European.
Yes, and European, I know, is a fascinating idea that you have. Allow me to stick for 2 minutes on the skills, because I think that is a very, very important topic. And Karen, I would also like to have your opinion on that, because most people, I think, consider when we speak of the European Year of Skills and the digital decade, that we look into up and reskilling of the workforce and people like that. And that certainly is a very important objective. But I would also say that educating the public sector is of importance. If I look at the parliament, we have more than 700 parliamentarians. I've been involved in many events at the parliament. I would say, with all due respect, and it cannot be much different, of course, when you talk knowledgefully on blockchain or crypto, you might have 5 to 10 MEPs that really know what all of that is. On the national level, basically the same. You have all the experience, but if you really look into the national implementation, take MiCA as an example, where we are now working on the technical administrative standards, it all rises and falls with the education also of the national regulator to understand what they are regulating. So to what extent, from your public perspective, in the context of skills, does it not only play a role to educate the population and to enable, let's say, a skilled workforce for our enterprises, but but also have a knowledgeable public sector that can really steer that, not only with a few people, but in depth. Is that the topic also perhaps for the next policy cycle? Is that a concern of you, or do you think that it works reasonably well within the administrations?
I think that one of the things that I'm actually working on at the moment is an own initiative report looking at digitalization and an administrative law for the European institutions. Because a lot of times you have politicians and lawmakers asking for further digitalization without actually looking at what the consequences will be for administrations. As a local councillor in Copenhagen, often when we're looking at the budget, we would have projects for digitalization, a use of technology, in an attempt to save money without actually looking at the proper implementation and skill sets needed for using the technology and digitalization in a meaningful way. And there, I think we need to have a change of attitude to technology and digitalization, that we use all of the benefits, but we are also aware of the investments needed into implementation and the proper use of it. Also to make sure that automated decision-making and artificial intelligence, machine learning, is actually not undermining rights, not introducing biases, that the data that they're trained on is properly made. And I hope that we'll be able to push the Commission to actually have some kind of uniting administrative code or regulation for the EU institutions, because more and more citizens are in contact with EU institutions or agencies directly. And the rules and the rights that we have, both as citizens and as businesses, are not necessarily the same, and they're difficult to see. I think on more directly to your question about the skill sets needed by policymakers and lawmakers, I think we need to have a lot more expertise and understanding of technology. We need to not sort of be sold quick fixes of technology, but have better use cases for how to use it and an understanding of it. So I think we should upskill the politicians and also the public administrations. But I think it's upskilling society in general, and businesses and researchers and citizens in general, small businesses, is more important, because we shouldn't be sort of sucking out all of the skills to the public administrations, but we should be listening to the people that are using the technology out in society and bringing that into when we legislate.
Thank you very much for that call. And I would take that as a call to everyone here and also out there to engage with us. You have basically the 3 pillars of European policymaking here. And I can say that certainly for all of us, we are very open to see the use cases, to understand the technology, not shy away also from asking the simple questions to see how something works. I think that is something where we need to work even closer together in the future. Mathieu, perhaps your take on that, and then to the 4th pillar, which is the Europeum. And that is certainly something which will be of fascination to the audience. And after that, I would round up with a little final question to both of you, but you still have the 4th pillar to go.
Okay, thank you very much. So the 4th topic is European. So it's the building of sovereign blockchain for Europe. We know we speak more and more about privacy, about security, about exchange of the data, but also about the control of the data. And we are convinced that blockchain can be a solution for a lot of application. And we see it because in many countries, a lot of proof of concept are built right now on so many applications, from the diploma, from driving license, from the food chain. It's important because Europe built also that project EPSI, Open Blockchain Services Infrastructure. So I would have said we all know, few people know how big the impact of blockchain will be on the evolution of the infrastructure for the data, and so what we want to build is in fact bringing a technical project called EPSI to a political project called European, to explain that if we want to build new application, like for example transforming a law into a smart contract, that smart contract could build a distributed autonomous organization, some kind of a digital twin of Europe, in which the title of property could give you right. New applications who are not imaginable today. We need to have a common, strong, sovereign blockchain infrastructure. Okay, and that's what we are trying to build right now. Not the technical projects, but mostly the political project, to bring in the center of the attention, the political attention, that it can be a revolution and that it could be as important as we speak about digital sovereignty, if we speak about autonomous strategy. I think that a sovereign blockchain can be as important as 5G, cloud services. That's really an infrastructure that must be ours to guarantee a high level of security and privacy for public application. And I totally agree with you, Karen, about the fact that one of the biggest problem is to speak about digitization is the level of maturity of the lawmakers. In a government, I live in the 21st century because I meet so many of you. But my colleagues in charge of justice, pension, social affairs, they are not aware of what's happening right now. And so bringing back those kind of infrastructure at a political level, making it accepted by a European presidency, that's really something important. You know, I was really afraid when I saw the evolution of the crypto euro. Mm-hmm. Crypto euro is a beautiful idea, I think, but the way it's becoming is really frightening, because we won't have the positive impact of what it could be. And so I think that if we build European that sovereign blockchain, I think that so many things are imaginable in the coming years. So yeah, I'm really optimistic for this idea.
I can guarantee you, if you read our impact assessment, that it's at the end of the day a political decision of what will fly and what will not fly, which is why I'm so relieved now to hear what you say and take that as a very positive message, that we're not only having a Belgian presidency, but a blockchain-powered Belgian presidency that puts that into the forefront. I'm looking a little bit at time management because it's already past 6 o'clock and I was told I should finish at 6 o'clock, but here we say we have 2.5 minutes left. If you allow, I have one final question before we can all go to cocktails and whatever. And that is not really a personal question, but a very important question to my heart. You talked about this European infrastructure. We talked about the frictions between different legal strands, to put it this way. We know that we can use technology for the best and for the worst. So we can build technology for a society where we have that sort of transparency, where we have the data flows that are not fully protected, etc., with a lot of influence perhaps from the wrong side controlling us. But we could also strengthen the decentralized perspective for what blockchain actually stands for protecting our privacy, for having that inbuilt data protection, etc. What is your vision for the next 5 years if you look at the societal developments that we face and the power of the technology in the political context? Are we really in a position to ring-fence the benefits that I would say, with combination with AI and all the opportunities and also bad opportunities that exist, we can exploit the potential? Or are we at a critical point where we might end up, let's say, in the use of technology that gets a life of its own, not fully protected, where the liberal values are at stake? So what is your perhaps very short final impression at the moment of where are we in 5 years from now?
It's a very expansive question
I know,
to
that's why I
finish
asked
on
you and
quickly.
not me, so that's why.
I think we need to have a lot of investment in decentralized alternatives to big tech, which has been very siloed. For example, using Collabora Online, LibreOffice. Also, I mean, Mastodon has been fully embraced by the Commission. They have their own instance, but also having sort of private client-side AI-enhanced translation in our browsers, and sort of use the the benefits of decentralized open technologies as much as possible, also to reduce the dependency on one person or one company. If you look at, for example, the situation in Ukraine, then suddenly one person in the US can decide whether or not Ukraine can defend themselves and take back their territory. And I think that's highly problematic. And I think we need to use blockchain and decentralized ledgers to the small things. It's a little bit like when we were talking about whether we should have electronic digital votes for elections. I don't really want to have that in my parliamentary elections, but for an election of what kind of pavement there should be on my street or how often the cleaning should be, like small decisions, it would be good. And the same thing for blockchain. It would be wonderful for checking up on non-personalized data, for industrial data, or for making sure that the green promises of the products that I buy in the supermarket are actually true. And there, I think we could do a lot more than what we're doing already.
That was a fantastic pitch, and difficult for you to top that, Mathieu, but you have the chance, and then we round up the day and the conference.
Okay, I will say that the most important challenge, to my point of view in the coming years, will be to see how we will redefine humanity, because there are so many things that are possible right now, and in the coming years, I think that everything will be possible, but we will have to ask yourself if everything possible will be a good thing. And that's something really important, because as we speak about redefining humanity with the impact of blockchain, AI, and so on, it cannot be the answer of a few people. It cannot be the answer of technicians or politicians. We have to build, the humanity of tomorrow, and that's sometimes it's really it's frightening, because even in governments, because it's possible, it's a good thing. No, that's not because it's possible that it is a good thing. And so redefining the way we want to live together, it's really important. I spoke about European. The next step of European will be to have two important things. One, the technical infrastructure. How we will build that technical infrastructure. But mostly, what will be the characteristic of this infrastructure? Will it be transparent? Will it be privacy-proof? Will it be? And the same applies for every new technology. The impact of AI of the jobs, of the employment rate. Okay, and so to identify the future is really, really, really complicated, and it hasn't been as complicated as it is today. So the challenge is, and I mentioned a few minutes ago, is ambition, inclusion, but obviously the convergence will be the key to find an answer, I think.
It must have been a very good event, not only this panel, but also the whole conference, if we end up with questions like this, to which we don't have the answers yet, but they are on the table, they are for everyone to grab. Thank you very much for the discussion. It was a privilege to have both of you here. Thank you for your attention, and to the organizer for a fantastic conference, and let's enjoy the cocktails.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.